Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke. Welcome back to Let's Read the SCP Foundation Wiki. In the last episode, we read about the monk's greed and the surrogate heart. And the surrogate heart was a lot less creepy than I thought it was going to be. The luckiest man in the world was messed up, the critical tomatoes were hilarious, and the ink stain was Keter but not creepy, just odd. In this one, we're going to read about the instant growing plants, good thing they're not also the critical tomatoes, the reluctant dimension hopper, random dot stereogram, men are pigs, and the soft death. The soft death sounds like it's going to be messed up, and men are pigs makes me think of that one thing in Greek mythology. I want to say the Odyssey, but I'm not 100% sure. But there was definitely a thing where there was a goddess who turned men into pigs because she could, and I'm wondering if maybe it's that lady, but we'll find out. So, instant growing plants, they're safe, and there's a video. SCP-506 grows in a 3x3 meter patch of soil, kept watered and fertilized via an automatic system. The air of the room where 506 is kept must be filtered to prevent the release of 506 seeds into the environment. Personnel entering the enclosure must wear biohazard suits composed of inorganic material and must be decontaminated upon leaving the area. And what was this called again? Okay, yeah. 506 is a genetically engineered variant of zucchini. Cucurbita pepo, created by the Blank Corporation, is a hardy and rapid-growing food plant. 506 exhibits several undesirable and dangerous qualities. 506 will attempt to grow on any organic material, including living beings. The seeds germinate on contact. 506 grows extremely rapidly, reaching full size in 5 minutes or less. Due to its rapid growth, 506 drains its growing medium of nutrients at an accelerated rate. Nothing will grow in soil that has harbored 506 plants without extensive nutrient replacement. 506 seeds are much smaller than typical squash seeds and disperse easily in the wind. 506 is inedible as the seeds will data expunged if any are consumed. I feel like they don't need to expunge that because they just said it'll rip the nutrients out of anybody and then grow within 5 minutes, so obviously we already know what they'll do. To the best of the knowledge of the Foundation, 506 has not escaped into the wild, and Blank Corporation has destroyed all samples in their possession. Let's check out that time-lapse, or we can finish reading and then check out the time-lapse. Note, labeled as a time-lapse in case of accidental public release. Addendum 506 is evolving rapidly as indicated by the incidents below. Incident 1. 506 plants observed attempting to grow on the walls of the containment facility. Although the plants died of malnutrition, testing indicates that the latest generation requires 35% fewer nutrients than when originally contained. Research in progress to find materials that do not support 506 growth. Incident 2. Dr. Blank was found dead in the enclosure covered in plant growth. The means by which his suit was compromised is unknown. 506 roots have been found to secrete a powerful anesthetic, explaining why the doctor did not sound the alarm or attempt to escape the area. Researchers must be under video surveillance while working with 506, with another researcher ready to assist in case of accidental infestation. Reclassification as Euclid recommended. So let's check out that time-lapse. Okay, so, while that was happening, I realized that tomorrow was the anniversary of the first incident. Cool! Moving on. Let's see. And also, there didn't seem to be any sound, so it's not like I lost the sound to that video, there just didn't seem to be any. Now it's time for the reluctant dimension hopper. Which I imagine would... Okay, I was going to say was probably be Euclid, since they're reluctant and they hop dimensions, but I guess not. SCP-507 is allowed free roam in the facility, obviously barring anything that would breach security or safety protocols. Anytime SCP-507 leaves its private quarters, it must be accompanied by an agent, mostly at this point to make sure that it does not shift without the facility's knowledge. 507 should not be physically touched if there have been more than 2 weeks since its last shift. The risk inherent in disobeying this protocol make the action its own punishment, should the issue of disciplinary measures ever come up. When 507 undergoes a shift, faculty will be informed to keep an eye out for its eventual reappearance. It also has a tracking device implanted into it, and a daily signal check should verify whether or not 507 has returned from its trip. If it reappears in or nearby the facility, 507 will return to its quarters on its own. Otherwise, a retrieval team with 3 plainclothes agents will be sent to provide transportation back. Upon successful return, 507 can be the subject of various physical tests up until 2 weeks after each shift. It's worth noting that 507 is allowed a computer with an internet connection via a proxy which strictly limits what information can be uploaded and to where in its room, and may petition to use/meet with/act as a test subject for safe or Euclid SCPs that do not affect mental functions negatively or carry an infectious trait. This is a result of 507's persistently clean record, and the implication that if 507 was ever going to be a security leak, it would have used its full teleportation powers to do so already. It's also worth considering that 507 is actually below average in most physical traits, and that in even worst case scenarios, any SCP agent should be more than capable of carrying out a termination order. Description: 507 is apparently a Caucasian male with blonde hair and green eyes, sporting no other outstanding characteristics besides being somewhat overweight and speaking with a vague accent of disputable origin. Although 507 has an already established name due to its unremarkable upbringing, it seems to find entertainment in forcing those it meets to give it a nickname in lieu of divulging this information. Thus, 507 will now respond to the names Tommy, Steve, Bruto, Guy, Houdini, and Grabnock the Destroyer. Grabnock was originally recovered from the Blank Blank Asylum when standard surveillance following repeated successful escape attempts brought its abilities to light. All records of this incident were confiscated and Grabnock was taken into custody under the pretense of moving it to a more secure facility. The original theory was that Grabnock possessed some form of teleportation ability, as it would suddenly disappear and eventually reappear at a different location. Subsequent interviews with the subject did verify that its ability could be used in such a manner, but that it was merely a side effect for its main affliction. Grabnock holds that during its periods of disappearance, it is actually displaced into a random alternate reality. The landscape generally stays the same, but the inhabitants and climate of the parallel world often do not. Grabnock also insists that it has no control over the time and duration of these shifts. This has more or less been confirmed by the subject being known to displace at inconvenient times such as mid-sentence, while sleeping, or even while using on-site public facilities. If Grabnock moves about in the alternate world, the eventual shift back will then place it at the corresponding area in our reality. A sample list of Grabnock's descriptions of the alternate realities can be found in document 50700. Mentally, Grabnock shows no large deviations from the psychological profile for a normal person. It is confessed to have always had a great interest in the paranormal and mythological, which has directly led to its eventual permission to interact with relatively harmless SCPs. Grabnock especially enjoys meeting with other sentient SCPs, once going so far as to request a small vacation to visit SCP-82. The request was eventually granted after persistent pleading from Grabnock, and the meeting was thankfully uneventful. What was 82 again? Genetically human. The really big one. Document 0. A sample list of Grabnock's supposed extra-dimensional travels along with any demands made by it after returning. Subject arrived in complete darkness, leading it to assume that the current location was indoors or subterranean. After fumbling about for a possible way out, subject heard a sound akin to muted breathing nearby. Subject then decided to curl up in the nearest corner and wait it out instead of risking a blind confrontation with an unknown creature. Request: a standard flashlight which it now always carries on its person. Subject appeared in a replica of the facility, although apparently fallen into disuse. Further exploration led to the discovery of various corpses strewn about the area, all heavily decayed and covered in an odd type of mold. Upon noting that the corpses seemed to rhythmically expand and contract as if still breathing, subject attempted to leave the facility. This idea was quickly discarded when it opened an exit and found that the outside world was apparently coated with the same odd growth. Request: heavy doses of, I'm not even sure how to say that, voriconazole, and a fungal expert to help ascertain the nature of the mold. No exact match of the described mold was found, but it was noted to share many attributes with certain types of cordyceps fungi, see Addendum 2. Upon reappearing, subject was reported to mutter, "So many spiders." Refused to elaborate. Request: a handheld firearm of any type. Request was granted under the stipulation that said firearm is specifically built to only use rubber bullets. Subject once again appeared in a pitch-black location with breathing nearby. Upon turning on his flashlight, subject was surprised by a man wearing a black business suit and sunglasses with an impossibly wide smile. Said smiling man was apparently leaning in towards 507 when it turned on the flashlight, and the end result being that their faces were almost touching. The smiling man then remarked, "Back so soon?" Before the subject switched the light off again, discharged all rounds in the firearm at the general vicinity of the men, and once more curled up into the nearest corner until shifted back into our reality. Request? None. Those with level 2 security clearance may read a full list by accessing document 507-3B. Those with level 2 507 security clearance should also see interview 507G for evidence of a particularly noteworthy shift. I'm just going to check out both those things. Addendum 0. Agent Blank went missing on Expunged at the same time as 507. A full-scale search was launched to find either of them, only for 507 to appear a week later. When questioned, it said that Blank was holding onto its shoulder when it shifted, leading to both of them to appear in an alternate dimension where Expunged. During the ensuing chaos, 507 lost contact with Blank and could not relocate him before it shifted back into standard reality. A new protocol has been placed in light of this. No one is to come in physical contact with 507 after 2 weeks following a displacement. Reevaluation of previous incidents has shown that there have always been at least 2 weeks between each, so this time frame will be the only safe time to touch 507 until further notice. Addendum 1. I don't care how much he grumbles about it. 507 is not to be cleared for challenging able to 50 rounds of tic-tac-toe. Just no. Addendum 2. Fungus encountered by 507 seems similar to that resulting from experimentation with SCP-407. Why would Abel want to challenge them to 50 rounds of tic-tac-toe? Or why did... Okay, 507 wants to... Grabnock wants to challenge 76 to 50 rounds of tic-tac-toe. So, there's a lot more dimensions that happened in here. A lot more dimensions. I'm gonna save this for things to cover on the next SCP Saturday, which will probably be this Saturday, because I have a couple of things I want to cover for that. But let's check out this interview log. Interviewed. It looks like they just interviewed 2 507s. Okay, yeah. The interviewer Dr. Blank. Forward. During a daily signal check for 507. For Grabnock, 2 independent verifications were returned. The following investigation led to the discovery of identical Grabnock duplicates in its assigned quarters. Both apparently made their way to the room by themselves and had spent at least half an hour conversing with each other upon meeting. The following interview took place between them and the first informed employee to reach their location. The duplicates have each been given an alphabetical notation for the purpose of readability. Begin log. Hey Doc, welcome to the party. I'm afraid you're going to have to explain this to me. There's apparently more than one version of me with this problem. Should have seen this coming, honestly. There's so many ways an alternate reality could differ without affecting my personal life, you know? So... which one of you is the visitor? Roughly 10 seconds of silence. Is something wrong? We've actually been talking about this for a bit. Now you guys have been real nice to us. More than we might deserve, really. But we also know this could be a rather enticing opportunity for your research department. It'd probably be best if you didn't know which one of us was... temporary? Expendable. I don't like what kind of stories you two have been sharing, but our job is to secure and protect the likes of you. Perhaps this other reality has a less benign code of conduct? And perhaps I can shoot fireballs from my mouth. We don't mean to be hurtful, but this place isn't the best source of human compassion. I'm sure that there's at least one person on staff who would love breaking me open in an attempt to find out how all this freaky stuff works, if it wasn't for the fact that you couldn't keep studying me afterwards. Do you have to put it like that? I have enough things that keep me awake at night. Good God, I know. There was this guy with this huge-ass smile. You met him too? Nearly soiled myself. I wish I was that lucky. You know, this could be interpreted as a security breach. Who's the doppelganger going to report to? Alternate SCP? I'm fairly sure that there's a better chance of a meteor striking this place than successful cross-dimensional sabotage. I've actually come across at least 3 dimensions where something fell from... You're not helping. I really do. Anyway, where were... 507B disappears mid-sentence. Roughly 5 seconds of silence. Well, now that our visitor has left, I have a question. Alright, did you two figure out the difference between your realities? Actually, I think we did. In his world, Abraham Lincoln was killed while sleeping by his vice president instead of by General Lee. In this reality, Booth assassinated both. Or Booth assassinated Lincoln. Ah, bugger. Closing log. Or closing statement. Subsequent testing revealed that Grabnock's abilities have no biological basing, and that severed pieces will still shift along with the main body. The Grabnock of this reality reappeared 3 days later and has not been informed of this incident. Oh, okay. So, the closing statement was that while the original Grabnock was gone off somewhere, they, cut off pieces of the new one. And decided to see what would happen. So, it looks like they just... at least cut off its fingers and just watched. Interesting. Now it's time for the random dot stereogram, which is also safe. SCP-508 requires no special containment procedure so long as it is kept out of direct view of any SCP staff. At least blank % of 508 must remain covered except when actively being tested. It is currently kept in a small closet with no windows or ventilation. The door is to be kept securely locked at all times. If SCP-508 is to be tested, it may be sealed in an opaque container and transported to any environmentally sealed testing room available. Due to the potential risk resulting from its secondary effect, the room is to be sealed using positive pressure and sanitized using blank when the test is complete. Unless there's a strong need to preserve the test subject, they also should be sanitized using blankety blank. In the event that the subject must be retained, they should be held in quarantine for a period of no less than blank days. Description: SCP-508 appears to be a random dot stereogram poster of dimensions 255 by 197 centimeters. Caution must be taken when interacting with it, as even a cursory glance may fascinate the viewer, giving them an overwhelming desire to properly view the hidden image. What? Yeah, no, I got nothing. But it is subcritical. Viewing the image appears to only be possible when the viewer stands 1 meter in front of the image and stares directly at it. Attempts to view the image via mirrors or having multiple subjects attempt to view it have failed, with only the properly positioned subject able to see the image. In testing, achieving proper focus to be able to view the image has taken an average of 93 seconds. Subjects exposed multiple times appear to view it more quickly, but never in less than 60 seconds. Once the viewer has achieved proper focus, the poster seems to function as a window to some other location, Effect 1. These locations range from the banal, e.g. a view of the same room but from the perspective of a different wall, to surreal and potentially maddening, see blankety blank. In addition, the window appears to function bi-directionally, exposing the viewer to the gaze of whatever is being viewed. Regardless of the time required for the viewer to acclimate to the needed focus for the image, after the same amount of time has passed with the user viewing through the window, the interface appears to undergo a secondary change, Effect 2, and becomes permeable, although only to the viewer and the viewed subject/area. See event log blank 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 and blank. The requirement for viewing appears to extend to the secondary effect, even in the case of event blankety blank, where the subject was dismembered and pulled through the image, 2 other subjects in the test room were unaffected. Addendum: photographs, scans, and copies of 508 do not inherit its primary properties, as the user is unable to see more than a strangely compelling blur. All such copies should be kept filed away, and no personnel shall view them for more than blank minutes in any blank hour period, as extensive viewing has been shown to induce an overwhelming desire to see the original, Effect 3. If the subject is unable to see more than blank % of the image due to it being partially covered, obscured, etc., neither effect is demonstrated. Copies of 508 show the same limitation with regards to Effect 3. Addendum: careful removal of the backing material revealed a price sticker indicating that 508 was sold for $14.98. No indication of the store from which it was sold was found, nor was the UPC code able to be matched to any known database. Test log: Experiment 1. Disposable Dude 9211 was exposed to 508 and told to make note of any change perceived. After 93 seconds, subject began to giggle. When asked to explain, they blushed and stated, "Oh, nothing, nothing really, just a funny view." Later interrogation revealed 508 to have provided a view into a woman's changing room at a local department store. Subject terminated due to unreliability. Experiment 2. Disposable Dude 4599 was placed on a chair in front of 508 without instruction. The subject was seen to glance at 508 momentarily, look around, then return to observing it with a perplexed expression on his face. After 102 seconds, subject appeared to enter a state of extreme agitation, sweating profusely and attempting to draw back from 508 without leaving the chair. After an additional 102 seconds, subject suddenly became very pale and attempted to leave the chair. After moving less than 12 inches, subject screamed and collapsed to the floor. Examination of subject revealed an 11-centimeter cylindrical segment missing from the left side of his abdomen. The edges of the wound appeared to be cauterized. Autopsy revealed the death occurred due to severe systemic shock. Experiment 3. Disposable Dudes 8788 and 7422 placed in the test chamber with 508 and instructed that the first to identify the image would win a prize. After several minutes of vying for position, the subjects both began to scrutinize the poster. After 87 seconds, 7422 suddenly turned his head away in disgust. Inquiries as to what had become visible were not responded to, and subject was remotely terminated. 8788 was advised to resume the test on pain of suffering the same disposal. After 92 seconds, 8788 suddenly smiled and moved closer to 508 before tapping on its surface. Subject appeared to find a solid surface, but continued to observe. After an additional 87 seconds, the subject was seen to lift his head and sniff, then suddenly dive at 508, passing through its surface with no resistance. 8788 has yet to be located. Experiment 4. Disposable Dude 4431 and Disposable Dudette 6744 placed in the test chamber with 508 after being shown footage of Experiment 2. Both subjects sat on the floor facing away from 508 and began to talk. After several minutes, 6744 shook her head in response to a comment made by 4431 and inadvertently allowed her gaze to rest upon 508 for less than 1 second. Although visibly shaken, she looked back at it repeatedly for the next 10 seconds before changing position to obtain a better view. Repeated warnings from 4431 failed to dissuade 6744 from attempting to view the image. After 103 seconds, 6744 suddenly blanched and began to vomit. Subjects were then removed and interrogated. 6744 was unable to describe what she had seen, stating that it was somehow wrong, but in a way she could not explain. 4431 admitted to looking at 508 after seeing 6744's response, but claimed to have seen nothing. Subjects quarantined for potential future testing. Experiment 5. Disposable Dudette 9801 instructed to enter chest chamber to observe 508 and report back. After 93 seconds of observation, the subject was heard to exclaim, "Oh, that's neat!" Interrogation revealed the subject to have seen an image of herself in what she thought was some kind of experimental mirror. Subject also noted the image was not reversed from left to right, as would be the case in a conventional mirror, quarantined to be used for future tests. Experiment 6. Disposable Dude 6621 shown video of Experiment 5 and instructed to enter test chamber, observe 508, and report back. After 97 seconds, the Disposable 6621 made sounds to indicate disgust and stated, "Ew, they can't make it in here, can they?" After an additional 97 seconds, they suddenly demanded to be let out and moved to the farthest point in the test chamber from 508. After 43 seconds of the subject becoming increasingly agitated and demanding to be let out, the subject suddenly began to scream and swat at his legs. Analysis of the video log showed that the subject's legs appeared to be being bitten by a large number of small creatures. Based on concurrent wounds, at least 27 bites were inflicted at any one time. After 14 seconds, the subject collapsed, whereupon the subject began taking wounds over its entire body. After an additional 14 seconds, the subject lost consciousness. Within seconds of the subject being rendered unconscious, all damage ceased. The subject was unable to be returned to consciousness and was terminated on this time. Autopsy revealed the bites to be consistent with those of unusually large bed bugs, with traces of a neurotoxin found within the wounds. Ew. Experiment 7. Repeat Disposable Dudette 9801 instructed to enter test chamber, observe 508, and report back. After 81 seconds of observation, the subject was seen to turn about several times and state, "Oh, well, that's different." Interrogation revealed subject to have seen an image of herself as seen from behind. Upon turning around, subject saw what appeared to be an identical copy of 508 behind her. No such object appeared on the video log. Subject quarantined to be used for future repeat tests. Experiment 8. Disposable Dude 2232 placed in test chamber and told that he would be rewarded if he could properly identify the object shown by 508. Subject had been fitted with a remote activation tranquilizer collar to test the effect loss of vision through unconsciousness would have on effect too. After 87 seconds, subject leaned forward and stated, "Wow! I didn't know these could have show live images. Who is that?" Subject was advised to continue observing. After an additional 87 seconds, the subject made a "come here" gesture towards 508. 6 seconds later, video surveillance shows 507 coming out of 508's frame. Grabknock coming out of 508. Grabknock indicated appreciation at being retrieved as his most recent shift had interrupted his lunch. Grabknock was permitted to return to his normal routine. Disposable Dude 2232 terminated due to security risk, blank. Tranquilizer collar recovered for future testing. Whoa, okay. Men are pigs. Let's see if I was right about what that is. Also safe, but is that one of the 3 little pig houses? Oh, huh. SCP-509A and 509B are to be kept contained on site due to their immobility. Each is to be cordoned off and any members of the public turned away. Outside of research and maintenance purposes, no humans or pigs, living or dead, are to be allowed to enter into either structure. Personnel may safely enter and leave A and B within 4 minutes of activation and while inactive. After testing, any living humans recovered from B are to be trained as level 0 personnel and assigned to minimal security positions. Personnel are cautioned that smoke inhalation from A poses a health hazard and are advised to wear particulate respirators during and immediately after testing. 509 is a collective term for two structures with similar and possibly linked anomalies. A is a wooden sauna located in Gaston, Oregon. When activated remotely, it functions as a normal for an electronic stove sauna, producing steam by dripping water onto a heated surface. Local records show that A was built in 1987 and exhibit no anomalous properties until shortly before its containment in 1995. When used by a human, A produces clouds of smoke instead of steam. Though the smoke is at this point non-anomalous, the means by which it is produced are unclear. After approximately 6 minutes of smoke production, A enters an active state, and tracking devices placed inside fail for the duration of its active period. Attempts to enter A no longer lead to its interior, see experiment log 509. After a period of 155 minutes, A returns to its inactive state, now filled with extremely thick smoke. All humans in A at activation are no longer present within the structure, but are replaced by an equal number of cured pig carcasses. These carcasses exhibit no anomalous properties. B is a brick smokehouse located near Hesdin in northern France, exhibiting similar anomalous properties to A. B is believed to have been built circa 1750, though it too functioned normally until 1995. Whenever one or more cleaned but uncured pig carcasses are placed into B, it ceases to produce smoke and instead produces steam. 6 minutes after the addition of the last pig carcass, the interior of B becomes inaccessible in a similar manner to A. After 12 minutes, B returns to its inactive state. Any pig carcasses present at time of activation are replaced by living humans. These humans speak fluent English and claim to have just been at a sauna. Physical examination reveals no anomalous properties, and dehydration consistent with approximately 20 minutes in a sauna. Under questioning, these individuals demonstrate functional knowledge within standard parameters, but have no recollection of life before recovery from B. No records have been found of persons recovered in this way. Let's see, Experiment 5. Date, September 21st, 1995, head researcher Dr. Samuel Chow. Disposable 35475 was instructed to enter A, 15 minutes after activation. Subject reported that he was unable to open the door and so was given tools to remove the door from its hinges. With assistance from research staff, he was able to remove the door. Instead of its interior, A contained an empty white room substantially larger than the exterior of A. He was ordered to enter A. On doing so, he reported that it contained a large quantity of pigs. When questioned regarding the incongruity of this with external observations, he clarified that he did not in fact see, hear, smell, or feel any pigs, but was rather certain of their presence. Experiment 17. Dr. Samuel Chow and Dr. Alexander Beho. Procedure: A and B were simultaneously activated. 30 minutes after activation, disposable 35475 and 31161 were instructed to enter A and B respectively. As expected, both reported seeing the white chamber. However, 35475 did not perceive it as containing pigs, and 31161 did not perceive it as containing humans. Each reported seeing a distant blurred figure which matched the movements of the other, though certain identification was impossible. Attempts for each to move towards the other figure proved similarly ineffective. Experiment 36. Head researcher Dr. Alexander Beho. What happened to Dr. Samuel Chow? 35574 entered A while active, but unusually did not perceive the presence of pigs. 35574 reported, and set camera footage confirmed, a distant blurred figure similar to those observed during concurrent testing of A and B, despite the fact that no testing was scheduled for B that day. The plant testing was aborted. After recovery from A routine medical exam revealed 35574 to be infected with a virulent strain of dengue fever not matching any known variety. Experiment 43, and this one is in 1999 now. Head researcher Dr. Evan Green. Procedure: a live pig was placed into A, which was then activated. Rather than steam or smoke, A began to fill with aerosolized decontamination fluid. After 6 minutes, the interior became inaccessible for 40 minutes. On deactivation, the pig had been replaced by a deceased male human in a hazmat suit. The corpse exhibited several severe burns across and through its entire body. The torso had been opened and emptied of all organs save the liver and heart. No unusual occurrences were reported at B. So if you put a human into A, it's replaced with a pig carcass. If you put a pig into A, it is replaced with a human carcass. Huh. That is completely different from what I thought it was going to be. And did it say it was safe? Yeah, so let's see if we're 5 for 5 of safe. If the soft death is safe, then I call bullshit. There we go. Okay. It went safe, Keter. Alright, cool. Instances of SCP-510 are to be treated as a Level 1 infective substance, and are not to be handled by anyone not in contained atmosphere hazmat suits. Any staff interacting with 510 must be monitored for 1 month after interaction. Infestation by 510 will be met with immediate quarantine and sterilization of the surrounding area. Containment units must have airtight seals on any and all possible access route points. Staff access is to be provided by a dual airlock with chemical showers at each stage. Robotic surrogates are to be used whenever possible for 510 interaction, and all materials interacting with 510 are to be sterilized and quarantined for 1 month after interaction. Seals are to be checked and repaired weekly. Any staff observed expressing elevated levels of fatigue, sleepiness, or exhaustion are to be quarantined and tested for infestation. In the event of multi-subject infestation, site-wide lockdown will be initiated. Description: SCP-510 has thus far proven difficult to fully identify. It is possibly a form of microorganism or a form of nanite. The particles of 510 appear to be surrounded by a field that causes a blurring effect even at high magnification. Tests have come back with widely varying results, and samples have simultaneously exhibited properties of organic and non-organic matter, as well as properties of solids, liquids, and gases. Current research views it as a form of mold or virus, due to its response to high heat and chemical sterilization. 510 infests soft surfaces such as fabric, feathers, hair, or foam, with the ability to remain dormant in such substances for years. If 510 encounters delta waves, typically emitted by humans entering sleep, it will activate and begin to infest any nearby organic life. Infestation follows a set progression, see Addendum 84B, symptoms and progression, most often ending with the death of infested subjects after 4 to 6 days. 510 appears to prefer mammalian life for infestation, primarily human beings. Attempts to artificially infest other life forms have met with very limited success. Possible applications of 510 and its life support function are being researched. High heat and highly acidic chemicals have been able to dissolve 510 particles. Dissolved particles leave behind no detectable residue. Document 84B, symptoms and progression. Stage 1, infestation. Exhaustion. Symptoms are exhaustion, fatigue, sleepiness, general listlessness, itchy eyes, and general head pain. Description: 510 begins to form a sting-like extrusions, which anchor into the skin. Extrusions continue to grow into the skin, contacting all major organs and systems in 8 to 24 hours. Subjects will grow progressively more tired during this time and will seek out quiet, dark areas in which to sleep. Stage 2. Initial manifestation. Symptoms: deep coma, pillow formation by 510 on the body, progressive invasion of biological systems, nervous, cardiovascular, and respiratory, etc. Description: SCP-510 forms large pillow-like growths on the body. These growths are warm and emit a soft light, with a texture described as microfiber plush. Subjects slip into a deep coma, becoming totally unresponsive to any and all outside stimuli. 510 will start to take over biological systems, causing blood, neural activity, and even oxygen to pass through the growths before being returned to the subject. It has been observed that the subjects in this stage enter a dream state more vivid than standard REM sleep. Stage 3, full manifestation. Total dependence on 510 for all biological functions, bonding of the skin with 510, slow reduction in mental activity. Description: SCP-510 takes full control of all biological functions for the host organism. Damage to the growths at this point will result in the immediate death of the host, as the growths are now performing all biological functions for the body. A form of accelerated atrophy sets in, with muscular and skeletal structures beginning to weaken and shrink, and total shutdown of most organs. Subjects are observed to lose 44% of their body mass during this stage. 510 will directly bond to the skin, replacing the thin threads with larger protrusions of the growths. The brain begins to slow down and does not register any pain or awareness of these changes, showing high stimulation in areas with contentment and comfort. Stage 4 is conversion. The symptoms are rapid growth of 510, major reduction in host physical mass, absorption of major organs and tissues by 510. The brain enters the deep dream state. Description: 510 begins to comprise the basic structure of the body, absorbing organs, skin, bones, and muscles. Subject's mass will be reduced to 1/10 of initial size, with only a few tissues in the brain remaining. The brain enters a state labeled deep dreaming, in which brain activity is reduced to a point that the subject may be declared legally dead. However, brain activity continues, with evidence of some sense of surroundings being recorded. This is remarkable considering most hosts at this stage are a brain, spinal cord, and a few clumps of tissue encased in 510 growths. Activity at this stage seems to be initially located in comfort and contentment centers, with activity shifting into fear and alarm centers as conversion continues. 510 begins to break down into individual particles on the surface of the growths. Stage 5, resolution and sporing. Symptoms: absorption of remaining tissues, breakdown of 510 into individual particles. Description: 510 absorbs the remaining tissues, including the brain, over a period of 12 to 14 hours. Brain scans show highly elevated levels of activity consistent with extreme fear or pain at this point, which slowly shift back into a more relaxed state as the brain is absorbed. After full absorption, 510 will break down into individual particles with a full breakdown of the gross after 3 hours. Particles will then float into the air, making contact with a receptive surface. Okay then. Now, it being Keter says to me that they can't do anything about it, but they say they do have the means to destroy it, so I guess it's just because of how infestive it is. And there's a side story called Scratching. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I couldn't get any sleep last night. There was something scratching from behind the walls? It's probably just rats or something. I'll probably get it checked out tomorrow. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Couldn't sleep again last night. That damn scratching sound came up again. This time it was all over the place, like it was scurrying through the walls and ceiling. I seriously have to call somebody about this. Scratch, scratch, scratch. That damn scratching won't stop. I called over the landlord and an exterminator. They gave my room and the entire floor a thorough inspection, short of knocking holes through the walls. They said they couldn't find any evidence of pests anywhere. Well, fuck them! At least the inspection was free. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Fucking hell, it's still there! I brought some plastic ceiling spray from one of the neighbors. I'm not sure how he happened to have several cans of this stuff lying around. It just seems a bit too convenient. The way he acted, it looks like this wasn't the first time he's done something like this. Maybe... Nah, it's my imagination. I didn't sleep that night. I spent the whole time sealing every possible crack and hole in my apartment. I didn't want to risk that damn whatever it is crawling into my room. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Fuck! I think the thing must have crept in while I was out. I can hear it scratching around on the inside of my room now. Oh god, I think it's coming closer. Scritch, scritch, scritch. It's in my head, eating my thoughts! It's in my head, 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 it's in my thoughts! Transcript of autopsy report. Dr. Blank. Alright, subject is a blank-year-old Caucasian male, cause of death unknown at this time. But look at him! His head! Dr. Blank, I know you're new here, but please refrain from making unprofessional statements during the autopsy. Severe trauma in the top half of the subject's skull. Scratch marks on the wound suggest that the trauma was self-inflicted and done by hand. The blood, skin, hair, and bone fragments found under the subject's fingernails correlates to this hypothesis. He scratched his own brains out! That's a very blunt way to put it, but yes. That seems like what happened, that seems like what happened, does it? But you can never be too sure. Let's continue. Okay, so I wonder if that's how they found it, or if that just is a thing that happened. But in any case, that about does it for this episode. In the next one, we'll be covering Basement Cat, Gravity Notifying Umbrella, a Cowbell, a Flock of Doves, and the Sleeper. At least one of those is probably terrifying, but we'll have to find out tomorrow. So, this has been Anashi Sasuke. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you need to do either one of those things. And I will see y'all in the next one. Later!